Let me take a moment and talk about Riverside.fm. It allows you to record studio quality audio and up to 4K video. When you need to record audio and video, Riverside.fm can do it. So if you're looking for a hero platform for all your recording needs, from podcasts to webinars to any video content, Riverside.fm. I've got a promo code for you where you'll receive a 30% discount on the first 3 months of your subscription. I'll give it to you twice. The promo code is SHIPIT. All one word, SHIPIT, and you'll pick up a 30% discount on your first 3 months of your subscription. Riverside.fm.
In this episode of the Football History Headlines, we discuss the legendary head coach Joe Gibbs and his times with Washington, as well as many more Hall of Fame legendary stories and birthdays, all coming up on your January 8th Football History Headlines in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with pigskindispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com, and welcome once again to the Pig Pen, where we're going to talk about some great gridiron history as we go through the headlines for the day of January 8th, and also talk about some great Football Hall of Fame birthdays on the same day. So let's start right off with the headlines, and we'll go to January 8th, 1972. The NCAA announced that freshmen could play on teams starting in the fall season sports, according to the Chicago Tribune. Leading up to that, the freshmen were usually not allowed to play varsity games. That's why you see a lot of our Football Hall of Famers that we're talking about only played 3 years of varsity ball. They had to play the first year on a freshman team. There are some exceptions. There are some years where war and some other circumstances where freshmen were allowed to play. But for the most part, 1972, that was sort of the line of demarcation where the freshmen were allowed to play. Let's move on to January 8th, 1984, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. The Los Angeles Raiders defeated the Seattle Seahawks 30-14 to win the AFC Championship and capture the Lamar Hunt Trophy for the right to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. January 8th, 1984, that same day, RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C. At the NFC Championship game, the Washington Redskins outlasted the San Francisco 49ers 24-21. According to the WashingtonFootball.com website, the Niners were down by 21 points in the fourth and staged a comeback. 2 questionable penalties and a field goal later did them in as Washington advanced to their second consecutive Super Bowl by that 3-point victory. And speaking of conference championships, let's fast forward 5 years and go to the 1989 games for the 1988 season. January 8th, 1989, Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The AFC Championship game had the Boomer Esiason-led Cincinnati Bengals knocking off the Buffalo Bills 21-10 for the right to play in the Super Bowl. That same day at Soldier Field in Chicago, at the NFC Championship, it was the San Francisco 49ers taking care of business as they defeated the Chicago Bears 28-3. January 8th, 1998, the general manager of the New York Football Giants, George Young, resigned to accept a position with the league offices. Now let's move on to the college ranks. January 8th, 2007, the BCS National Championship once again had the top 2 teams in the polls squaring off against each other to produce a champion for the nation. This year it was Ohio State who held the top spot, and their opponents were the Florida Gators. SportsReference.com shows that how the game was a rout as number 2 Florida demolished number 1 Ohio State in a stunner 41-14. January 8th, 2008, Joe Gibbs retires for the second time as the head coach of the Washington Redskins. Gibbs held the same position with the club from 1981 through the 1992 season, and in that span, he led the Redskins to 8 playoff appearances, 4 NFC Championship titles, and 3 Super Bowl wins. And he did it with 3 different starting quarterbacks. The second time around were 3 solid years, but not to the heights the franchise had the first time around. January 8, 2009, at Dolphin Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. Number 2 Florida and top-ranked Oklahoma met in the 11th BCS National Championship game. The Sooners put up their great Heisman-winning quarterback Sam Bradford against Florida's Heisman winner from the previous year of 2007, Tim Tebow. Tebow and the Gators got the better of this game, according to ESPN.com, as Tebow passed for 2 touchdown passes and Percy Harvin rushed for 121 to lead Florida over Oklahoma 24-14. And speaking of Tim Tebow, on January 8, 2012, at the AFC Wildcard playoff game, the heavily favored Pittsburgh Steelers fell to the underdog Denver Broncos 29-23. The game went into overtime, and on the first play of the extra session, Tim Tebow found receiver Demaryius Thomas on an 80-yard touchdown pass to give Denver the upset. January 8, 2018, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. The College Football National Championship hosted 2 strong SEC foes, with number 4 Alabama taking on number 3 Georgia for all the marbles. The website collegefootballplayoff.com tells all about the action. The Bulldogs dominated play in the first half and led 13-0 at the break. Head coach Nick Saban, though, had a secret weapon. Saban turned the game over to his backup true freshman quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua had remarkable as he steered the offense and led the team to a comeback with 20 points over 2 quarters to force overtime. The freshman quarterback ended up becoming the game's MVP as he tossed 3 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown pass to freshman wide receiver Devontae Smith. The Tide rolled over Georgia 26-23 to claim their 5th title in 9 years. Now let's take a quick break from our headlines, and let me remind you can learn more about gridiron history on our website, pigskindispatch.com. And you can contact me, Darren Hayes, at pigskindispatch@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Speaking of hearing from someone who's here is one of my podcasting partners from the sportshistorynetwork.com that has a message just for you.
Do you wish you knew more about the 100 seasons of the NFL? You're in luck because you found the Football History Dude podcast, where each episode is a journey back in time to learn about the rich history of the NFL. From the founding of the league in an auto showroom, all the way to what it is today, America's favorite sport and a behemoth of an industry. My name is Ernie Chapman. Football is my passion, and I want you to come along with me each week to explore the yesteryear of the gridiron. So hop on board my DeLorean and let's get this baby up to 88 miles per hour.
It's time to talk about those birthdays of those Hall of Famers. We'll start off January 8, 1922 in Jamesville, New York. The great guard from Penn State University, Steve Suey, was born. Steve played at Penn State right out of high school, but then the world was embroiled in a war. He served in the Army Air Corps for 3 years during World War II, which interrupted his college play. Steve was voted as an All-America when he returned in 1947, according to the NFF. His hometown of Casanova, New York, threw him a party. Suey hitchhiked his way from State College back to New York for the banquet, and there friends and family celebrated his accomplishments. They even chipped in and bought him a new car so he could drive back to school and didn't have to thumb it that way. When Suey's studies were completed at PSU, he played for a time with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL. The College Football Hall of Fame inducted Steve Suey into their museum in 1985 posthumously. January 8, 1927, Gates, Tennessee. The University of Indiana's swift halfback George Taliaferro celebrated his birth. The NFF states that Taliaferro was an instant success as a freshman at Indiana in 1945. George was a scoring machine that year as he put up 3 touchdowns, including an 82-yard interception return and a 95-yard kickoff return. He finished his incredible freshman season as the Hoosiers' leading rusher with 719 yards. Taliaferro followed that year up with a few good, more solid ones to eventually become the MVP of the team in 1948. The National Football Foundation selected George Taliaferro to be inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame in the year 1981. January 8, 1959, Cincinnati, Ohio. Mark Herman, the Purdue Boilermaker quarterback, was born. When Mark graduated from Purdue, he was a top passer in NCAA college football history. Mark was the first in history to break 2 passing thresholds in a college career. First, the 8,000-yard plateau, and then the 9,000-yard one as well. His web bio on footballfoundation.org shares that Herman held 9 passing records at the time, the foremost being 707 passing completions and being responsible for 9,188 yards through the air. Herman finished as a unanimous All-American in 1980. The NFL voters sent Mark Herman into the College Football Hall of Fame in the year 2010. We thank you so kindly for joining us once again on these football history headlines and birthdays of Hall of Famers, and for supporting the PigskinDispatch.com and this Pigskin Dispatch podcast. And we'd want you to make sure you talk to us and email us at pigskindispatch@gmail.com. Let us know what you're thinking, how we can do some better things, or maybe change it up a little bit, which we will be doing in the coming months. And also, you can check us out at the sportshistorynetwork.com, where there's other great podcasts and great writers there too that you can check out their work and guests, and a lot of talent going on there. So make sure you check one of those places out, and as a matter of fact, check them all out, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Jean Monroe, as well as Jason Neff, for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
It was just another ordinary day in the offices of the Pittsburgh Guardian newspaper circa 1924. But for Marla Delft, assistant editor, everything was about to change. For she was about to discover the awesome attractiveness of Row 1 brand retro sports paraphernalia items thanks to Orville Mulligan, sports writer.
And there it is.
Wow, Orville, that's really the bee's knees.
Isn't it just? A poster-sized replica of the actual 1909 World Series program cover.
I can see that. But where did you get it? And where'd you get it framed?
I ordered it from the Row 1 website, where over 6,000 items of sports memorabilia from the 1880s to the 1990s are available for reproduction, in multiple sizes and in several different materials, with over a dozen styles of frame to choose from for prints like this.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Delft would love to put up more of these in the office. But I'm equally as sure they're beyond this newspaper's budget.
Not at all, my dear Marla. See for yourself. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. Oh my, these are good prices. Oh, and look at this stuff. Oklahoma-Nebraska football, college basketball art, Michael Jordan items.
And so
retro
it was that
sports
Marla Delft
advertisement
discovered the
placards.
splendiferous magic of Row 1 sports memorabilia, arts, and prints. You can too by visiting sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. That's ROW1 today for access to the full Row 1 catalog of gallery prints and gifts like t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, telephone cases, coffee mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Act today for 15% discount off all prints with coupon code SHN15 and 20% off all other items with coupon code SHN20 at checkout. And keep your dial locked to the Sports History Network for the exciting chronicles of the 1920 sports world in Orville Mulligan, sports writer. Coming soon.
Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? You should check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Pictorum Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. Instead of a boring old tie, get him a historic baseball photo taken by Henry High Sandom at the historic Polo Grounds Stadium in New York City during the 1894 Temple Cup. Or, if he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL poster. These are so good looking that you'll be amazed how they turn out. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order.